Now, yesterday I put up a vlog called The Dark Side of Hollywood, where I told you I'm going to be talking today to someone from Hollywood, an actor who is basically a targeted individual. I didn't tell you who he was at the time. His name is Stephen Shellen. He starred and co-starred in over 30 feature films, including A River Runs Through It, Stepfather, Gone in 60 Seconds, also TV shows. And then he became a targeted individual.
My name is Roger. Sir, may I be of some help?
Listen, Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week for me.
Well, a Ferrari would certainly change that.
Perhaps. But you know, this is the one. Yes. I saw 3 of these parked outside the local Starbucks this morning. Now, if I was driving a 1967 275 GTB4 Cam.
I don't have one here. However, I do have one in the warehouse.
So his website is StephenSchellenberger.com, and I'll put that in the chat room. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Thanks so much.
Amazingly, you came from, so high up, so much success in Hollywood, $5 million mansion, you're co-starring next to Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, these big names, and you have successful businesses. And by being a targeted individual, I mean, you basically lost everything, material, but you didn't lose yourself. You didn't lose your sense of humor. You're just an awesome guy.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, everything you went through. So, today we're going to talk a bit about what you did go through.
Okay.
Let's start out. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how this started, and then we'll talk a bit more about.
Yeah, it's hard to trace it back, and I'm guilty also of being in the Hollywood bubble. I discovered I love the art and the craft of acting, and then I started taking it very serious, and then my career sort of blossomed after that, and I had a bar, and I started a theater company in a bar, and Sean did his play in my bar, and Sean, Madonna, Demi, who I used to know, Demi Moore, and anyway, all these different people would come to my bar, and I can promise you, I can swear on my life, that guy, Joe Cerno, who also created 24, he is absolutely, he's a puppet for these same creeps that do this stuff. I tried to have a conversation with him. This is when I was homeless, and I'm suddenly offered a TV show after being homeless, living on the street, and I'm suddenly given a limousine, given a dressing room, being treated like I'm the star of the show along with Peter Wilson for 4 episodes, and it was like, well, where'd this come from? It was all designed just to mess with my head, and that guy sat down next to me and said, so you've got all these people fooled, but we know who you are, and we're going to keep working on you, or something to that effect.
Well, that was
and that guy gets his information. He's best friends with the Bush family. He gets his information right from the source. That's why he's able to write, stuff about Section, which is essentially the CIA and mind programming. That's what that show's all about. What they don't tell you is that they take 2- and 3-year-old children and start programming them at that age.
Can we talk a little bit about how you were targeted? I mean, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there is, and I'll try to do the condensed version. Well, what's it called about the Freemasons? National Treasure. Anyway, I went to France. I stayed in a hotel, and I met a girl who was coming home from Polanski's house who worked at the hotel. I had sex with her, and she became pregnant. Within a month, I married her, and then 5 years later, she admitted to being a prostitute, and I went to the police and tried to find out what was going on, and then that's when the targeting started. 15 years ago, my children are stolen from me, and rather than people being sympathetic or empathetic towards me about what had happened, I was across the board blacklisted, harassed, had bans, matching license plates following me through 3 different states. In France, I was followed where I did a movie with Lorraine Bracco where I was completely gaslit, messed with, and it went on for years and years and years and years. Safety box break-ins in 3 different banks. You know, I mean, really, if you go to the website, Are You Targeted? I'm like the poster child for what it is to be targeted. And I may have been targeted because I'd wanted to quit that show called Counter-Strike, and maybe because I was a loudmouth, and maybe because I was not what they considered programmable in Hollywood. So the root of why I was targeted and who's really behind my targeting, COINTELPRO, who can get in your bank safety boxes? Is it just one angry person? I doubt it.
So, Steve, she came into your life after you were talking about quitting the show, and that's kind of...
No, she came in, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, she probably did. It's been, 20 years, but yeah, I think she did come in my life around the same time that
It might have had something to do with that. I mean, you don't really know exactly what you did. It might have had something to do with that show. It might have just been that you were not controllable the way other people were. You told me you were always really open book. Get into a little bit about the kind of systematic harassment. You know, if he tried to come out and tell anybody about it, the one doing it had done it in such a way that it would just make him look crazy if he tried to say these things. Everybody knows you can't get into someone's safety deposit box. You can't do a lot of the things, or they're just so weird.
Unless something's tangible, I don't really... It's hard enough for anyone to get their head around what happened to me. You know, it's so much easier just to assume that I'm some crazy, artist that, invented a story. So I don't go to the electromagnetic... I don't generally talk about that, but it's absolutely there. You know, the very courts that you're trying to get to listen to you, they're already against you. It's like, let's say I'm Jewish and I'm in Nazi Germany during the Second World War, and it's like running to the Nazis saying, God, please help me. They're trying to kill me. Well,
that's like what happened to you when you went to the Children's Aid Society and tried to tell them.
I'm going to the enemy to ask for help. So going to the Bioethics Commission, it brings awareness. That's what's good. But as far as it's for Obama, it's supposed to be for President Obama to look at, to hear about this. They know they're doing this. Are you kidding me? Well, what do you think they're spending those billions of dollars on? They're spending it on experimentation like what's been done to me. And believe me, the amount of money they must have spent on my harassment it's in the millions, man. I mean, they couldn't have done this on a shoestring budget or a bunch of angry bikers. No. This is huge. This is COINTELPRO. That's all GPS tracking. That's relatively easy to do. Here's how they attack your head, for example. You're staying someplace, and you get locks and double padlocks, and you're already somewhat paranoid. Everyone thinks you're a drug addict, or they think you're mentally ill. So you're hiding out, and I went and I bought a motion detector. So if anyone came in, the motion detector would go off. Well, the motion detector's turned off. It's one of their systematic mind games they play. They'll break in wherever you are. They will alter your clothes. If I told someone, which I was really careful of, because they already think you're crazy. So you're sort of like, it's like being in a prison. You're handcuffed. You're not, if you tell someone, hey man, they're coming in my place and they're altering my clothes to mess with my head.
No, they're going to think you're crazy.
My friends at the time thought of me. What do you think people would think? So you're all alone in this crazy game of them harassing you. And that's just one little example. The safety box break-ins is better because it's more tangible, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, the woman working behind the safety box section of the bank, she loses her job or gets transferred. People just start evaporating.
I wanted to make sure that we could talk a little bit. I know that this stuff, like you said, it sounds totally crazy. It's hard for people to believe, and that's actually the reaction some people are having in the chat room, that this guy has completely lost it. But no, you actually haven't lost it. I know you in real life. You're together. You're very, very talented, productive artist, and you absolutely have not lost it. This stuff really happened to you. You also have witnesses to that.
Yeah, well, sorry, I'm hypersensitive when people start saying, oh, he's nuts. It's like, You know what?
Well, they're probably just saying that to, like, push your buttons, too, you know?
Good luck, because if it happened to me, it can happen to anyone.
I know that as he's telling his story, and it sounds so far out that there are probably people thinking, well, this guy's crazy, or maybe he was an alcoholic or whatever, even though we told you that that's not the case. But here's a couple examples of evidence. Now, if you look him up on the Internet, you look up the movies that he was in, you'll see that everywhere, including Wikipedia, his name is either omitted or he's listed at the end, even if he had a starring or co-starring role. That's still happening. You can't change it on Wikipedia and put him as, like, the third starring person. No, they'll either remove him or put him to the end. That's still there. He just completely blacklisted from the Internet. That was one thing. Also, when he went to the Children's Aid Society to try to tell them that he suspected there was ritual abuse going on because of, this was only one example about with his wife drowning the kittens. They actually, like, lost his file, like, misplaced the file, ended up taking the kids away from him. And when he mentioned ritual abuse, they're like, no, we've never heard of it, doesn't exist. But his wife was some kind of agent. She was actually a prostitute, but she had all these bizarre skills, like she could take anything mechanical apart, put it all back together. She spoke several languages, French, English, Arabic, Italian, very bizarre skills, and she would take on different personalities, but he described her to me as, in general, she was just kind of like a shell. There was really nothing there, but then she would just take on different personas at different times, although completely devoid of any emotion or compassion. And then all this stuff that was happening, like the break-ins to the safety box where he has witnesses, the furniture being moved around in the house, clothes being altered, all these strange things. Those are hard to prove, you know, except for the boxes. But he was, completely blacklisted and targeted, and what they came after was his career and his children. So, okay, over to you, Steve.
Yeah.
Did you want to have, we've got just a few minutes left here.
I just had one quick thing.
Yeah.
It's always a case, and it's, you know, I tend to talk, I get pretty, I get wound up. Because you're always, it's been 15 years now, and you're constantly trying, you're always dealing with, oh, you made that up. Why would I make up a story where I end up homeless? I mean, there was no, I had lots of attention as an actor. I didn't need this kind of negative attention. I didn't need to be considered mentally ill or crazy. So as far as benefits for me making up a crazy story, and you're always defending yourself against, oh, well, what proof do you have? My ex-wife told me, you don't have any proof, and without proof, there's nothing you can do. That's my bad French accent, by the way. And I'm the only actor, and I'm surrounded by people that supposedly work for NSA, CIA, CSIS, and I say, well, why didn't you just kill me when you had a chance? And they giggle and say, well, no, our job is to isolate and discredit. We couldn't kill you.
And that's what they've done.
Okay, well, thanks. You did a good job of that. Then I'm watching Spy Game because Redford and Brad Pitt are in it. And in the movie, there's a point where Redford turns to Brad Pitt's character and says, no, our job in the CIA now is to isolate and discredit. And I'm like, wow, bingo. Ain't that the truth, you know?
Well, it goes, the story that you told me and what you told us just now, it just goes to show how extensive this is, how systematic it is, how cleverly done it is, too, that they've done it in such a way that if you try to even tell people about it, you just look crazy.